everybody, it's Romania Black, and my bro is here.
Yo,
and we're here to watch episode 6 of One Piece, the live action series. We're down to 3 episodes, which is crazy, meaning that some stuff's got to happen because because clearly Mihawk is not the final boss, as we've seen. Mihawk is not the final boss. Huckleberry might be the final boss, though. But no, Mihawk has decided, been like, peace out. I've injured Zoro. We're ready to go. And Nami was going to leave, but decided not to at the last minute. And Sanji and Luffy bonded. Garp and Colby bonded. Kobe bonded. It was great. And yeah, so I'm pretty excited to see what we're going to have happen in this episode. Because part of me wants to think it's going to be a 3-parter. Like usually at the end of the season, if my brother and I think, if what happens is what we think is going to happen, I feel like it's going to be a 3-part final thing where it's going to be like, this is part 1 of 3, 7 is part 2, and then episode 8 is going to be to round out the season, finish the conflict, and set things up for next season, which they are all on board for. Jamie Lee Curtis is ready to go. Everybody's getting excited about, so I really like that. And I've watched some interviews. The guy that plays Sanji speaks like fluent Spanish, like he's from the Canary Islands. Huh. I thought he was British. No, he's not. Him and the actor that plays Luffy, who is, he's Mexican, Luffy's actor, they both were in an interview together speaking like fluent Spanish and just having a great time. And I'm like, I would not have guessed Sanji's actor to be from there. So that was really cool. I'm like, huh, how about that? Neat. So, yeah. Any thoughts before we start this episode?
No.
No? Ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Our dogs, we've hidden their toy. So Huckleberry doesn't know where it's at, which is both good and bad because now he's circling us like Fishman himself, like a shark. He's circling us being like, where is it? Where is the One Piece? And we're not telling him. So apologies ahead of time if they act ridiculous. But we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into episode 6 of One Piece. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's see what they give us. So yeah, these dogs were really, really noisy throughout the whole thing. So I apologize. But yeah, oh man. I've got a lot of spoilers I want to talk about. So we just need to run through the episode because then there's a lot of spoilers that I feel need to be discussed. But man, so Zeph and Sanji's backstory. What are we thinking?
It's directly what it was.
See, I thought for a hot second, I couldn't quite remember from last episode if Zeph had lost both of his legs or if he just lost one of his legs.
He only lost one.
Yeah, there was a pirate in the last episode that had both of its legs gone. I think I remember they showed up or something. At some point, there was a pirate that's lost both of his legs. I don't remember exactly when or what. But I thought that Zeph, I knew at one point Zeph lost his leg, but I couldn't remember how. And then when they were on the island, I was like, oh wait, he ends up eating his leg to survive. But I forgot. I thought that he left, because I could remember from the manga that there was the bag of food that I thought he left for Sanji to eat. I, in my head, was thinking, oh, well, he kept the big bag of food for Sanji to have after his bag had ran out, and he cut off his own leg to eat him. I forgot there was no other food at all.
No, it was treasure.
It was always treasure, and that's what he used to trick him, right? He gave all the food to the kid because he had the same dream as he did to find the all blue. Which is interesting. I forgot that Sanji just shows up from a ship that they were pirating, and then they all end up on the island, right?
Yeah, he was one of the chore boys on there.
Mm-hmm. Which the episode is called The Chef and the Chore Boy. When we started, I thought that title was referring to Zeph and Luffy because they both worked together to save Zoro. But that's not entirely the case in this situation. Oh my god. I want to talk about Luffy's vulnerability later on in Spoiler Corner, but seeing Inaki does such a good job of making Luffy be really vulnerable. And you were talking about his powers getting nerfed against Arlong. What were your thoughts on that?
I understand they have to do it to give Luffy an opponent that seems like he can't beat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, against Kuro, he obviously had the strength advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Against Buggy, he obviously had teammates to help him out, so he had the numbers advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But against Arlong, Arlong, like you said, he outclasses a normal human.
Yeah, and so I thought it was clever that they used the seawater. They basically merged. We talked last episode about Don Krieg and that plot, about him throwing Luffy over into the water. And so they kind of merged that with this, because Arlong in the original anime manga doesn't show up here.
No.
Right. So they kind of go to him, right? They just go to Arlong Park. They don't meet him beforehand.
Well, we got 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We still have to resolve with the Marines as well, though.
Right. The Marines being in there is going to be its own thing. It's going to be its own thing. But I like that they merged the plots together, showing Luffy, because I think it's important that Sanji saves Luffy. I think that needed to be in there somehow. So the fact they just merged it and made Arlong throw Luffy into the water, and that's how he beat him. I do think that it's fair that Luffy... My thing is, Luffy's in distress this entire episode. The concept that he's losing a fellow crew member is really, like, it shows it weighs on his mind, so he's not fully... I like in this version, Inaki plays Luffy really vulnerable in this episode, and so his mind is not in the right place. So fighting Arlong, he's not giving it his all like he normally would, because he's too worried about Zoro, he's too worried about things falling apart, and then by the time Nami gets there, it's just like, everything kind of falls apart for him. And she gets taken. But yeah, I like that she had the outfit that she's worn, like the cover photos, like the black with the floral in there. So yeah, the scene with the fish being used, was that in the original?
No, in the original, Zoro gets cut. They have to haphazardly stitch him together,
which they kind of do here.
And then they send him with Usopp, Johnny, and Yasako. Who Johnny Yasako, for those who've never seen the manga or anime, is Zoro's old bounty hunting buddies they ran into.
Yeah.
And then those 4 chase Nami, who just stole the ship.
Yeah, she in the anime manga, she steals the Going Merry and takes it away to go back to Arlong, and they have to... I'm okay with them streamlining that part of the plot, because that would have been just a whole thing of, like, introducing his bounty hunting buddies, having that whole...
They're only around for the Arlong arc anyway.
Yeah, it's like they're just side characters that are just there for that one plot point.
It's like they're supposed to be a second chef alongside Patty, but they kind of nixed him out.
Yeah, I'm fine with them altering that plot point. And
but
just
they gotta
have
have Patty, because he's like not the same as Sanji. He's like anti-Sanji. He's willing to go with the menu, do chef's stuff. He's not willing to explore and expand flavors. Sanji's willing to cook up anything he thinks is going to be delicious.
Only savages use oregano, which was great. I love that. I love the oregano joke, which I feel like most U.S. people use a lot of oregano and everything. We're a bunch of savages. No tastefulness at all. But yeah, I liked how they streamlined this. I thought it worked a lot better. They kept the whole stitching him up. I knew Zoro got stitched up. I think the whole fish thing, we're trying to add like a realistic thing to it. And then yeah, the crew just doesn't know what to do. The whole Mihawk thing with Garp. Oh my god.
I do what I want.
we fan geek a lot about Mihawk.
I asked you to bring him alive. I've got a bigger, fancier hat. No.
My hat's fancier than your dog hat, so no. I love that Kobe, it's a nice little callback of Kobe eavesdropping, and Garp knew he was going to eavesdrop. He knew he was going to eavesdrop.
He knew he eavesdropped. Heck, Mihawk probably knew he eavesdropped.
Yes, but I don't think Garp anticipated Mihawk bringing up that Luffy was his grandson. I don't think he anticipated that at all. And the fact that he's like, maybe your grandson will be the one to find the One Piece after all. And Garp's like, no! Because Garp's like, I don't want my grandson to find the One Piece because
it's supposed to be a secret!
Yes! No! My grandson's gonna mess this all up! And I liked it when he wrecked the office, he was like growling like a dog. It was like, that seems fitting of Garp. And then Kobe comes in like, I'm sorry. Kobe's like, ugh.
The investors want me to use more money, Kobe.
Clean this up, Kobe. Like, poor Kobe. Taz Skylar that plays Sanji. Mwah. He's such a good Sanji. I love all of, like, the expressions that he uses, like, the way that he looks. The way that Usopp and Sanji look at Luffy when Luffy's like, he'll be alright, and they're both like, do we tell him? Do we tell him that Zoro could die? You know, it was really I was like, oh, it wrecked my heart. It wrecked my heart. And we'll talk about Huckleberry, my dear. He's the worst today. But yeah, he wants them to make the rice balls. And then, yeah, the whole thing with East Blue, the passenger ship, everything. They did a really good job of making Zeph look younger, even though it's the same actor. They just seemingly made him look a lot... Either they put makeup on him and made him look a lot older in the present, and this is what he looks like, or they found a way to, like, digitally de-age him or something like that, but... And then the little kid that plays young Sanji was perfect. Like, he looked so much like Taz. It was really, really good. Bless him. Yeah. What's interesting, what I like about this flashback is One Piece can be so goofy sometimes, even when it's really heartbreaking and morbid, that there's like a goofy, like the island being shaped the way it is, it doesn't look natural like you'd see in real life. And then the fact of a captain sawing off his leg with a rock and eating it. I mean, it's realistic, but it's also kind of goofy. And they make this very serious in this, but they play up it just enough. They don't make it so melodramatic that you're like, oh no. It hit hard. I think if I didn't know what was coming, I think it would have hit me a lot harder. The thing that Zeph does for Sanji. And it's really sweet. The ending scene where Zeph and Sanji like say goodbye was so sweet. How does it happen in the manga, in the anime?
In the anime, they're still there. Yasaku got sent back to tell them all about Arlong. Luffy and Sanji are eating with the other chefs. One of the chefs asks who made this soup. Sanji did, and then they all say it tastes like dog shit.
Oh.
Eventually, he just says, "Fine then, I'll go with Luffy and them." Then they break down and admit that it was the most delicious soup they ever had. And Zeph pretty much wants him to go find the All Blue. It's like what Luffy said. He doesn't want him to give up on the dream. Exactly.
Yeah, he's like he wants him to live out his dream, and you know, Sanji stayed with Zeph this whole time because, you know, he's kind of felt like he owes him a debt, and then he doesn't want to leave him. And then he's like, nah, you need to go out and live your dream. I love that fade back to Taz in the actual episode. It's really good. Now, Nami spilled the beans to Zoro about all of her inner thoughts before she's gone on to find him. I feel like in this version, they're going to make Zoro and Nami's connection a lot bigger than it is based on that. I think so. I mean, I think that's going to happen. I think Zoro's going to be the one. I think she's going to question them being there, and Zoro's going to be the one to point out that she told him about her dream and stuff. And he's going to be the one to bring it up. And Luffy's going to be like, "You have a dream, Nami?" She's going to be like, "Oh my god. I'm waiting for it." Him to be like, like have the SpongeBob meme where he's like, "You have a dream, Nami?" And she's going to be like, "Oh my god, no, I can't."
Like SpongeBob finding the Krabby Patty.
Yes!
Squidward's back.
Yes! Yeah, with the little face, like... And yeah, Nami's like, "Squidward, no." I don't have a dream. So what do you think about Garp telling Kobe that they're going to double down on their efforts? And Kobe being like, Luffy's a pirate and he's never not going to be a pirate.
I think that's what the final conflict of the season's actually going to be. It's going to be between him and his grandpa.
About, you mean Luffy and his grandpa?
Yeah, Luffy and his grandpa.
And they're going to leave us off with that? Maybe. Possibly.
They might resolve it before it ends, and then that'll open us up to going to Logue Town.
And seeing the stuff. I want to say something else about that, but we'll wait a minute. But yeah, I think that building it up between Kobe, Garp, and Luffy as the final conflict to give some resolution there would be good. I could definitely see Kobe and Luffy meeting up again for like one more. They had their initial meeting, then they met in Serp Village, and now it's like this is the third time, like the final.
And the entire time Kobe was trying to do his job, Luffy was just like, "Kobe, how you doing, buddy?"
I love it, but then...
"You got in the Marines! Good job!"
Yes! And then Kobe's like, "Oh my god." I was waiting for Helmeppo to say something in this episode when, like, he kept looking over at Kobe during the whole announcement that they were going after the pirates.
If he admitted that they let Luffy go, he'd have to admit that he basically lost to a renowned swordsman who never even drew his sword against him.
Yes. Yes. And we're not going to do that, so never mind. But yeah, I kept thinking Helmeppo wanted to say something. What do you think about the Arlong pirates showing up?
I like their design.
The manta ray especially looks really good. I love the manta's design. It's perfect. I know a lot of people were complaining online about Arlong's design, but I think it works. I think it works for what it has to be. And then Chew is the other one, right?
Arlong, Kurubu, and Chew.
Yeah.
I'm a little upset they don't have Hachi in there.
Well, I'm thinking maybe they're going to be at Fishman Island. Or at Arlong Park. Not Fishman Island, Arlong Park. I think they'll be... Yeah, I hope Hachi is there too. But I like the designs too. This is Oda getting into the whole thing about basically the fishmen represent racism in the One Piece world and about class prejudice and things like that. Oda's way of getting into that is in this episode. And it works. I was worried about Zeph for a second. Knowing this series, I was like, because we don't really see Zeph after this, now that Sanji's left, I'm like, if they do something to Zeph, I'm going to be really mad. I was hoping they did. When Zeph got knocked against the wall, I was like, oh.
Zeph's a little tougher than that. He is, as it was said in the manga and anime, his crew were able to sail the first half of the Grand Line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which, if you check it, is canonically called Paradise by those who have gone the rest of the way.
Ah, so there we go. Mm-hmm.
Especially when you have Don Krieg, who apparently didn't last even like 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole thing, what's funny is that everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go to the Grand Line. I'm like, the Grand Line's terrifying, so okay. I do like that connection. We talked about it kind of in the reaction of Sanji being like having a mentor figure literally lose a leg for him. And then Luffy's like, oh, hey, Shanks lost his arm for me. So it was like, I know exactly what that's like. And it's like, yup. Yep, sirree. You know it. And then, I liked Usopp in this episode. Usopp kind of hanging back in the back and being in the wings to kind of, he didn't really know what to say, so he was just kind of trying to support everybody. And then there's so much in spoiler corner I want to talk about, but in there, I like the way that they do Sanji's leg attacks. They look really good. I like the choreography of it. It just matches Sanji a lot. Buggy being in this episode.
It's a very big jump from the canon. And the canon, his head and arms get blasted to an island where he's trying to, for survival, catch a large bird and its mother using only his 2 hands, 2 little arms. He even tries to make a pitfall trap that they throw him into.
I'm okay with us foregoing that entire plot line.
Well, then he
he
runs back into his crew who has all his body parts.
It's basically, the one thing about One Piece is that, on the one hand, One Piece, it never feels like filler, but there is a lot of roundabout plots in One Piece. Like, there are a lot of, oh, we went off and did this one thing and now we're back to the main plot. Sometimes
that stuff actually comes back. Like,
that is the thing.
We'll get to this in spoiler corner.
Yeah, there are some plot lines that come back around. But the Buggy, I think it's okay that they brought Buggy into this explained. The only thing that kind of is my gripe is that Luffy was examining the hat back at the beginning of this. And I'm like, did he not notice an ear in the band?
It could have been in multiple pieces inside the brim of the hat.
Oh, that is fair. Okay.
Because you only see it start to like wiggle together and then come out.
So it could have been all dispersed throughout the hat, and maybe that's what he was like looking through it and looking for pieces or something, being like, "What's this?" And then he was distracted by Nami and them. That could have been. That's a good point. It could have been all in different pieces and then came together. That was my one gripe. If it had been a full ear, I'd have been like, "Okay, come on now." But if it had been dispersed, then
because we've seen him actually pull out like holes,
mm-hmm.
which he doesn't do in the anime or manga.
So in this case, it could be the case with that.
Yeah, it could have.
Yeah.
He could have easily just started separating it down to small pieces and have it line the hat. That way he'd hear everything around Luffy. Which is terrifying. Could you imagine? Buggy has been listening and eavesdropping on all this sentimental conversation. I'm amazed Buggy was just like, oh my God, what is it? Why am I listening to all this banter? I mean, I'm glad Buggy's with them. The fact that Luffy took Buggy on their ship and is bringing them to Arlong Park is hilarious. Well, they didn't need Buggy anymore. No, I mean, they left him. They only needed him to get to Luffy. Yeah. And that's it. So it makes sense that they left him. And he's just a head, so he's no threat to them because the rest of his body's missing.
So, I mean...
He can't even float.
No, he can't. So, yeah, he literally is... Yeah, they threw him out in the ocean. End of story. Bye, Buggy. Yeah.
That's why they kept him in the burlap sack.
That's a good point. I'm not opposed to them including Buggy in the story, and Jeff Ward does a really good job of playing him, so it's like, it is a little off-putting to see his head, like, CGI floating everywhere, but I'm like, whatever, it works, it's fine.
No, you're gonna sit on the table like a decoration.
Right, yeah, it's like the trick where they cut out the hole in the table and they just stick the head through, and that's literally what they're doing with him.
I like he asked, can you scratch behind my ear?
Yeah!
And he just says, no.
Again, I feel like you could make the argument that Luffy could have fought harder in the fight with Arlong here, but one, they're saving that for Arlong Park. They're saving him to go all out at Arlong Park. That was what it was originally supposed to be, so...
But you see him start to get better. Before he, kept throwing his punches as, straight jabs. Yes. Now he's throwing in hooks.
Yeah, so there's a little evolution there.
Yeah.
And we'll see it probably change up for the better in 7 and 8, right? And then, yeah, his mind wasn't totally there, so I'm willing to give it a pass on this.
After all, he never said any big moves.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe Nami's was like, I feel like Nami wanted Luffy to not get bitten by Arlong and instead was like, just toss him in the ocean. Kill him that way rather than eat him, because that would have been easier on her. Nami's actress does a really good job in that scene where she's walking away. That was really, really well done. And then Sanji, bless you, show, for giving us, I know you won't care, bro, but bless them for giving us Sanji fan service. We all needed this in our lives. I'm not going to say no to it. Then we go to Garp, who shows up in his gloves are off, he's got his dog hat on. Kobe's like, we're going to go get Luffy and bring him to justice. All right, now look. And then we have Zeph and Sanji basically coming to terms with the fact that they need to go separate ways. And I do admit, yeah, Zeph is kind of like, okay, you need to go. You need to get out of here. Luffy's come along, go with his crew. Now look, who do you ship? Sanji and... You don't ship a lot, though. No. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to put it out there. I always have shipped Sanji with Nami. That's always been my ship.
Pudding.
Well... Spoilers, dude. I mean, yes, but that's for the spoiler corner. But I've always shipped Nami and Sanji to a point. And Zoro, I've always kind of shipped Zoro with Tashigi just because it's fun. Just because, I mean, and there's another person I ship Zoro with, but that's really, really spoiler corner. But I've always shipped them with them. Now, if you argue that there's like a Nami Zoro shipping in this series, in the live action one, I'm totally with it because I see the chemistry with Nami and Zoro in this one's pretty good. I like it. But there's a moment, and I'm just throwing it out there because I've read BL. I'm just going to throw it out there. You can just... he rolls his eyes so hard. My brother hates BL, so he rolls his eyes so hard at me. There's a moment of Luffy and Zoro. I'm just saying it. It's there. It is there. If you wanted to ship it, it's there for you to do. I don't ship Luffy with anybody, really, except Hancock. And she's... Spoilers, so whatever.
Steaks. Meat. Food.
Luffy is food sexual. He is steak sexual, yes. So Luffy is food sexual. I'm on board with that, honestly. I'm actually more on, like, Luffy's in the asexual gender. Luffy doesn't care about anybody. He's like, whatever. I just want to eat my food and be king of the pirates. I don't need anything. But my brother's face is so red. There's a moment, though. There's a moment. I'm not going to deny it. It's there. You ship whatever you want. Y'all ship. It's fine. But I am glad that Zoro pledges his allegiance to the Monster Mash, to the Graveyard Smash, to the Luffy captainship. I'm here for it. I'm not going to embarrass my brother anymore. His face is so red. But yeah, I'm glad. I like the scene of Zoro being like, I'm going to be your first mate. It's like, yes, put that hand over your heart, Luffy. It's right. It's right.
I've never yank him forward while he has a life-threatening injury.
I know, right? I mean, I've never really shipped Zoro and Luffy. I always saw them as best bros. They're like drinking buddies, first mate captain, bestest brosifs. It's like the bromance of all time. But I will not deny it here. And then Usopp just shows up like, hey guys, there was never any problems. It's all fine, right? And then I will say, one of my favorite dynamics in the whole series is Sanji and Zoro. I freaking love Sanji and Zoro's dynamic because they absolutely loathe each other, but they're also best friends, but they're also crewmates, but they also can't stand one another. It's like their personalities clash in the best ways. And I just freaking love it. It's one of my favorite dynamics in the whole show is, and I just love when Sanji gets on the ship. Zoro's like, oh my god, why is he coming? If I was healed, we would have words. But yeah, I do like that they made the ship where the ship was blown off during Garp's attack. That's like right where Sanji stands. That's a really smart thing to do. Like scene-wise, it looks really good there. I liked that a lot. But, and then of course they have their little tearful goodbyes. I thought that was really good. The emotion with Taz and Zeph's actor was like, there's a lot of emotion in this episode. It was really heartfelt. If our dogs hadn't been acting like krakens, then it would have been better. But I was really moved.
No.
Yep, moved by this episode. Okay, I want to talk spoilers because it's been gnawing at my heart and soul this entire time. So we're going to talk about a little bit of spoilers before we round out this episode. But if you are not sticking around for spoilers, thank you all for dealing with these Kraken dogs and watching this discussion and episode with us. I'm excited for episode 7, penultimate episode, yes indeed. But we shall see. So we'll see how that goes. But if you're not sticking around for Spoiler Corner, hope you all have a good week. Take care. And I'll see you all later for that. Okay, Spoiler Corner. Did you, they didn't make Luffy cry in this episode, which is really good. He got really sad about Zoro and Nami leaving, but he didn't cry. And I was like, don't make Luffy cry, because the only time we really see him cry in the series is when his crew leaves him and when Ace dies. Right?
Yeah.
That's like the only time he cries, is because of his crew leaving and because of Ace dying. Like before, I don't think Luffy cries up until then, does he?
Not really.
No, not really. I mean, he puts the hat on Nami's head, which is going to happen probably next episode. But we're probably going to get Tangerine Grove flashbacks, which is going to be freaking sad. But yeah, he doesn't cry. But this actor playing Luffy, Inaki, if he's having this emotion now, if we get into Ace, and we get into Ace dying at Marineford, he will make me sob my eyes out. Because it was really sad. Like, I was like, oh man, like, Luffy's really vulnerable and emotional here. Like, if we get to Sabo dying and Ace dying, or not Sabo really dying, but you know what I mean. That's gonna be, I was like the whole episode going, oh my god, I'm glad it's gonna be a while before we get to that, because that's really, really sad. Nuh-uh, no way. So, spoiler-wise, there were different things we were gonna talk about. Any spoilers stand out right off the bat?
No.
Do Mihawk and Garp interact at all in the series?
No, in fact, Mihawk never even gets called to deal with Luffy.
Right, but I don't think him and Garp ever interact with each other at all.
No.
Right? Now, with Garp showing up at the end of this, we were going to talk about that. Garp showing up in Logetown. Because we have, like, the standoff. You have Garp. You have Luffy, who is the problem grandchild. And then you have Kobe, who is the ideal, this is what I wanted my grandson to be, but he's not. Do you think they are going to hint at Dragon at the very end, segueing into this? Do you think they're going to do that? Do you think they're going to go that far and segue Dragon into this?
Well, Garp's the reason we know about Dragon.
Right.
And we technically officially meet Dragon at Logetown, which is right after Arlong Park.
He saves Luffy from Smoker.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to happen in season 2. You're going to open up with Logetown, Smoker, and then Dragon's going to save him. I kept waiting in this episode when Kobe was like, he's your grandson, he's a pirate, he's not change. I was waiting for Garp to be like, well, his dad didn't change either. He's like the leader of a vigilante anti-government establishment group. Why are we surprised? I kept waiting for him to mention Dragon, but I feel like it's way too soon. I'm not going to mention Dragon anytime soon with that. They just wanted to show Mihawk be badass just again, right? I liked Luffy trying to give the sword, like, a name, and it wasn't correct.
That goes in line with Luffy in any name.
Yeah, he always messes those up.
Unless you're his friend.
Yes, right?
Then your name could be as bad as Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and he'll say it correctly.
Yes. Now, okay, with Sanji and the whole origin story, did we ever find out how he originally got to the ship that Zeph and them?
Not until much later, when we learn that he's from the North Blue.
Mm-hmm. And then don't we find out that they sent him away, or he
snuck out.
He snuck out, and so he's just been like hopping from ship to ship.
Yeah.
Until he got there. Yeah. No, I ship Sanji with Pudding. Sanji and Pudding's like my number one ship, and then it's like Sanji and Nami, but
Because technically they're married.
they are. They are technically married, Sanji
'Cause
and Pudding are.
neither of them said I don't at the altar.
This is true. They do technically get married. I love Pudding a lot, but how do you think they're going to do Big Mom? How would you do
We
Big
gotta see how they do Whitebeard first, because Whitebeard is like our first, not quite giant, but very tall.
Whitebeard is huge. Yes. So depending on how they do Whitebeard would be how you could do Big Mom. She has to be like a motion capture CGI monstrosity, because Big Mom is just ridiculously. That opening shot of Big Mom where like the lights come on and you just see her face, and it's like she's laying down on a couch and it's just her face and it's huge, is absolutely terrifying. I don't know, but yeah, I thought that Sanji had escaped and he's just been ship hopping the entire time. I thought that scene with him and Zeph was done really well. I liked it a lot. And then it took up a big chunk of the episode too, which it took up a big chunk of the arc as well, so that makes sense. Yeah. As far as...
And she was reading him Noland.
Okay, remind me about... I was going to bring that up. What is Noland? Remind me about that.
Noland, we didn't hear about Noland until we get to the Skypiea arc.
Oh.
The City of Gold he was mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't fall to the ocean. It went to the sky.
Oh, and he was lying, so that's part of the lies. The city didn't sink, it flew. That's what it was. Okay. See, Skypiea is the one arc that I'm like the least familiar with.
That's where we meet Anil.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the lightning fruit powers.
Yes, he has like all this stuff around him.
He created a ship with all the gold inside of it because intelligently he uses his lightning powers to mold and shape the gold into anything he needs.
Oh, okay. I remember Anil because he has like the do-rag on and has like the stuff floating around him.
And he has the long earlobes.
Yes, yes.
And that's our first taste of observation hockey.
That's kind of cool that they reference that now, like this early in the game.
Well, they had a different name for it, just like how Wano has a different name for armament.
Oh, okay.
But they had that one, which Anil was really good with.
I'm just amazed they're mentioning Nolan now, this early in the story. But who knows how they're going to change things around and streamline it in different ways, especially if they know what they know about the manga now. They could change some arcs to make things happen or be mentioned before.
I hope they don't get rid of Bellamy.
I don't think they'll get rid of Bellamy.
He was the spring guy.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get rid of him.
Okay, because that was like Luffy's badass.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of Bellamy, I don't think.
Steals gold from the old man who happens to be Nolan's descendant.
I think they're going to keep that story. I think them mentioning Nolan means they're going to keep the storyline around. They just might streamline it.
That, and it's also at Jaya, which is where we get to first meet Blackbeard.
No, yeah. Oh my God. There's so many characters we've not even mentioned, not even met. We're just on Arlong, who is like, I forget about Arlong all the time. I mean, when it's mentioned, I'm like, oh yes, Arlong, because he's a big plot point. But
well, another point about Arlong is the fact that Jinbei is responsible for him being in the East Blue.
Mm-hmm. And that's gonna eventually come back when Luffy and Jinbei's like, oh, we're best buddies. Nami's like, who? And be like, ah.
Well, he apologized to Nami already.
I mean, I love Jinbei's character, so how could you not forgive Jinbei?
He didn't know Arlong would be that much of an asshole.
I mean, that's true.
I mean, he even was a bit of an asshole to the fisherman waiter right there.
Okay, I didn't want to talk about it in the reaction because I know it's probably going to come up next episode or episode 8, but he does bite Luffy, doesn't he?
Yes, at Arlong Park.
Yes, he does bite him.
As a shark fisherman, he can replace his teeth quickly, and part of his techniques is that he takes the teeth out and uses them like those salsa dancers. Do
you think he's going to bite Luffy in this? Do you think they're going to go there and have him bite him?
Possibly. He's a shark.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if he actually
I want to see if they use his sword.
To see if that happens.
Yeah, the saw blade sword.
Yes. I bet they do. I'm going to be curious to see if they actually have him bite him. If that's going to be a thing. But I do think they'll use the sword. Then we'll go to Arlong Park. And next episode, we're getting Nami's backstory. which is freaking sad. It's so sad.
And we'll see Usopp versus Chew.
So yeah, we kind of set up the battle with all of them, and Zoro's gonna go with them. All that fun stuff, you know. Yeah. Oh, Usopp versus Chew. So yeah, they set it all up.
Which is like Usopp's very first fight and victory.
See, that's great. What are they gonna do with Buggy?
Here's the thing: Buggy comes back at Logtown.
Oh, they're just bringing him to the plot. They're just bringing him along in the plot instead of him just showing up.
Yeah, because at Logtown, Luffy goes and checks out the execution stage of Gold Roger. He gets locked in the little bracket thing, and then Buggy's going to cut his head off.
Yes.
And that's when a lightning bolt strikes him.
So basically, we're just finding a roundabout way to keep Buggy in the story till he ends up where he was going to end up anyway.
Where him and Alveda get captured and arrested.
That's what we're building towards. Okay, well that makes more sense now. Now it doesn't.
And then we don't hear from Buggy until he's an impel down.
Everybody was like when Buggy has his glow up and impel down. He's got like the long hair and everything. I'm like, I'm ready for it.
And he was at the very weakest point of the dungeon.
Shh. Give the Buggy fans what they want.
We're in the spoiler corner. Everybody knows.
Don't tell me who's in the weakest part. How are they gonna do? Oh my god, he's basically making fun of Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror. He's the one with he wears the garters and tights on the island of men.
Oh, Mr. Two?
No. He's got the big afro. He's a dragon.
Ivan?
Yes, Ivan. How are they gonna do him? Because he's huge too.
Either get somebody really tall or just scale their character up.
Just gonna scale the character up. Okay, well, I feel better about Buggy's plotline now, knowing that he ends up in Logtown. This is just streamlining how he's getting there. We're just gonna get rid of all the filler where he's fighting off animals on an island because we ain't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. What I was gonna say about Garp that's interesting is that Garp, he's the one that became friends with Goldie Roger and was part of, the person that had to execute him. So he probably doesn't want to have to be the one to take his son to the his grandson to the gallows, and Marineford, all that business happening. I mean, Marineford is a thing. It is a mood. It is a whole big shebang.
Marineford's where we get a look at like other warlords, other Marines.
Marineford is just... The funny thing about Marineford is it wasn't even halfway through the series. It's almost halfway, but it's not even half. And at that point, you think Marineford's like the arc before the climax. You're like, oh, this is the climax of the series. This is the end. No, it's not even the halfway point.
No, because we still got that holy city where all the celestial dragons are.
Oh, the celestial dragons.
We gotta set that to the burn to the ground.
Ooh, and Kuma, we've not even gotten to him. There's just a lot to still get through.
And Brook and Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria, he's the real big giant guy we gotta beat before Whitebeard.
There's just a lot of giant characters, and I think they'll be able to do it. It's just a question of, are they really going to make them as big as they are in the anime and manga, or not?
Let's save that judgment to see how they do Dogi and Brogi. If they do them, that little garden.
I don't think they're going to do Dogi and Brogi.
But it's kind of essential, though, because that's where Nami gets the sickness, which requires them to go to Drum Island.
Is that after Logtown?
Yes.
Okay.
That's after Logtown. That's after Whiskey Peaks.
Okay.
That's where we meet Mr. 3.
That's going to be interesting to see how they do that. I don't know exactly, because yeah, you're right. She does have to get that, because that leads them to this one place that leads to this place.
That's what allows them to go and meet Chopper.
Yeah, they do kind of have to go there. Yeah, I guess it's going to be our first sign of how are they going to do this. Are they going to be able to... Are they going to scale them up or not?
They could possibly do it like they get poisoned at Whiskey Peaks, and then it starts to act up, and then they find out Drum Island's nearby. But
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they go about doing that. That's a good point. I'm curious to see how that's gonna happen. But we gotta get through this season first. Obviously, we got Sanji on the ship now. He's with the crew. They're all off on their way to go find Arlong Park, and they have somebody that knows how to get there.
I want the next scene to just be them putting like a drink in front of Buggy
with the straw just right out of reach, where he's like trying to get to the straw. Oh my god!
And like any time that he doesn't give them information, they like slowly pull it away.
The drink back. Yes.
And then he's like, "Fine, you have to go this direction, that direction." Then they just put it right back.
What if they do like the water torture, where they just do drops of water on his head and he can't move, and he's like, "Fine, I'll tell you where it's at."
I know you don't know it, but for those of you who do, the JoJo torture dance.
Don't know. But I know people watching this that probably do know JoJo's, so they probably will.
Golden Wind experience.
You all know these things. I don't know. I do like that Buggy's makeup is like all smeared all over his face, like it would be, because he's just
no, don't put me back in the bag. It's wet and dark and sandy.
It's just, what's so great is that Jeff Ward does such a good job with Buggy, where he makes him so cheesy, even when he's just there for a hot second. What a scene stealer. What a scene stealer. Mm-mm. Yeah, I liked this episode a lot. I liked the emotional beats between all of our characters. It was good to get reminded about all those. I'm telling you, Inaki does a really good job of making... That's the one thing about Luffy in the actual series, and we can be done with spoilers, but for the most part in the first half of One Piece, Luffy has emotional beats, but I didn't like Luffy, honestly, until after that one arc, where we're about halfway through. After Marineford. We'll just say Marineford. After the events of that arc, where we see Luffy be really vulnerable, then I really liked his character, and when he started growing as a character. But I would argue for the first several arcs, Luffy's just kind of the same.
He grew up on a simple island. Mm-hmm. The most parental figure he ever had was a red-haired, drunken pirate, who eventually became one-armed. A lady who was probably too nice for her own good. Mm-hmm. And Garp, who we don't even need to explain the problems there. Yeah, Garp. What's so funny is people are like, they're talking about Garp's character. I'm like, Garp was never a good parental figure for Luffy. He was never a good parental figure. That's kind of the funny part. You can argue Dan was a good one. That was the bandit that took care of him, Ace, mm-hmm. and Sabo. Kind of the fact that she was willing to run into a fire and save him. I guess we are still on spoilers. You just said before we get done with spoilers. Oh, okay. I meant that we were done with spoilers. Okay. But in any case, my argument is that I think Luffy, if we're still on spoilers, my argument is that I thought Luffy was I didn't like Luffy as much as a character in the beginning, because I thought he was kind of one note. And then once we get to Marineford, and when his crew gets separated from him, then he has no choice. When he's with Raleigh, he has to Riley, he has to grow up and kind of become, evolve as a character. But here I like at least that Inaki is making Luffy more vulnerable and showing that, because it's not a cartoon, it's live action, so they have to be more like real people. Unless you're Buggy. But, so I'm glad about that. Yeah, I do like that. It makes me feel like when we get to those emotional beats with Ace and Sabo, that Inaki's going to do really good with that emotion. And it will make me cry. I'm like, ugh. So yeah. Alright, so we're done with spoilers. I'm really excited. We got 2 episodes left. Our crew is off to find Nami and take on Arlong and his men. Now Zoro's awoke, so that's a good sign. I'm excited to see the combinations of characters working together, what they're going to do. Catching up with Nami. We got to get that flashback at some point, so I'm sure it's coming. But anything else about the episode? Nope. I liked it. This was probably the most emotional episode we've had so far. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. But yeah, so I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed watching us chit-chat about One Piece and deal with these devil dogs, mainly Huckleberry. So hopefully next week he'll be more under control. So in any case, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And thank you all for watching with us. And we'll see you next week with it's going to be the penultimate episode of One Piece. Episode 7. Second to last episode. We'll see you all then. Bye.